Welcome everyone to Voice of Christians, which is a podcast for relevant and intelligent conversations. Relevant because you're trying to bring to you subjects that are very important for the context in which we live as Christians, but also as citizens of the city. And this broadcast is dedicated to everyone who understands and speaks the English language. Initially, this program has started in Romanian a couple of years ago, and we have decided about maybe 6 months ago to start a similar program in English as well. A lot of our young people live in the diaspora and they understand English more than they do Romanian. And so we certainly hope that you're watching, and we certainly hope that you're interested in our topics and in our guests, which so far have been extraordinary. And I think that you're going to agree with me that the guest that you're going to have tonight for this very important topic is also an extraordinary person. So don't forget. We'd like for you to watch attentively and to distribute, and also to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And we welcome you on this podcast, whether or not you're in Europe or it's the evening. We say good evening. In the United States, hello, hello. In the morning in Australia, and so on and so forth. Anyway, today on this podcast, we are going to keep our commitment to you. We have said to you for a long time that we are going to bring to you relevant, intelligent conversations, and in keeping to that, with that commitment, we are going to discuss what I would call not only a very important topic tonight, but I would call this topic an earth-shattering subject, because it has to do with who rules in the city. Is it we, the people? Is it we, the citizens? Is it us, the taxpayers? Or is it a tribunal, or is it an international institution? And so we are going to examine as a case study today the case of Slovakia, a country that I have recently visited, a country that I am admiring enormously for a variety of reasons. And I will talk with our guest tonight about why I love Slovakia, and everyone should actually love Slovakia. Every Christian in the world should love and visit Slovakia. What happened, folks, and of course Marek is going to explain to us in greater detail, on the 1st of November of this year, a number of constitutional amendments took effect in Slovakia. They protect marriage, they define sex as being a biological sex, they protect national sovereignty in a variety of areas, they talk about national identity, they talk about parental rights, and a whole bunch of other Christian values that are under assault, that are assailed in Western Europe, that have been, annihilated, if you will, destroyed by tribunals in Western Europe, and to some extent even in the United States. But Slovakia is one of those countries which has decided to stand up and fight. And so to explain to us the nature of these constitutional amendments, we have invited a very intelligent, a great Slovak, a great patriot by the name of Marek Novak to explain these amendments to us. And before I yield the floor to Marek, I also want to mention to you that on the 21st of November, if I'm not mistaken, the European Commission has launched infringement proceedings against Slovakia over some of the amendments which Slovakia has adopted. Folks, that's serious. It's not only serious, but I would say that's foolish. Imagine people going to vote, parliaments adopting internal legislation, people going and voting in national referenda, and then a month later, 2 months later, a European institution unelected by anybody, not elected by the citizens decides we know more on the topic, and we are going to punish, we are going to seek revenge against Slovakia for adopting these amendments. That's why I have titled the topic for this evening, for today's podcast, Slovakia killed the sexual revolution, and my colleague probably will not, my guest probably will not agree fully with that title. But then also the EU pursues revenge against Slovakia precisely because Slovakia has decided to fight against the sexual revolution, and with some degree of success. Talk too much, forgive me for that. Marek, we would like to hear from you. Welcome to the podcast. We are really enthralled to have you with us. And tell us a few things about yourself, your education. I met you about 4 weeks ago. You also know some great Romanians that fight the good fight as well. Like, for instance, Mihai Neamțu. He's very well known in Romania and also in Europe. So I'm glad to have met you and see that the network of truly Christian conservative voices in Europe is extending. So welcome to the podcast. Tell us a few things about yourself, your family, what you do for a living, and whatever you think is relevant for the public to know.
Thank you very much, Peter, for inviting your program. It's a great pleasure and honor. I'm also very happy to get to know you personally a few weeks ago, and that you visited our International Conservative Summit held in Bratislava, Slovakia, on the 8th of November. And I'm born in Bratislava, the capital of Slovakia. I'm also husband, father of two born children yet. And I love my country. I love my fellow citizens and my fellow people. And I'm conservative Christian, concretely Catholic. And last 4 or let's say 5 years, I have been working intensively for one of the grassroots Christian conservative NGO, civic organization, Ladislav Hanus Fellowship and Ladislav Hanus Institute, and also on several other initiatives, grassroots initiatives as well in this Christian conservative spectrum. We do a lot of activities here. We can say that we are trying to be very creative, conservative Christian minority, in the words of Benedict XVI, the former Pope. And we have some partial successes. Also, we see our role. We try to build something, or try to help to be built something like Christian conservative ecosystem of organizations, actors on the national, local, but as well as European and international scale. That's why we are also organizing this international event called Conservative Summit already for the 5th year. And I'm happy I had the chance to see it on your own eyes in the historical building of Slovak National Parliament. And what is interesting, this international conference was happening in the hall of Slovak Constitution, where actually Slovak Constitution was adopted in 1992 after the very cool and velvet split of Czechoslovakia with our brother nation, Czech Republic. So with this in mind, we were entering the European Union in 2004, and unfortunately, European Union very different one than is today, what we see. And even before the entering of Union in 2004, some prophetical mind among the Christian Democrats and conservatives in Slovak public life, like Jan Čarnogórsky or Vladimír Pálko, we're seeing that this tendency Western European democracies are going wrong direction, and that few years after fall of communist regime, which was going against the basic human rights and freedoms, and as well it's a religions rights and freedoms, not only human rights and civil rights. So soon after, we will see some trends which will push down or try to limit like full scale of openly acting, let's say, religions freedoms in public life, so that we as Christians in Slovakia, mostly Catholics, Roman Catholics, but also Greek Catholics, but also we have evangelical churches who plays an active role in public life, so that people who try to live their life fully in let's say in congruence or in integrity, in a Christian integrity, in personal family life, and also in public life, that will soon going to struggle. So this prophetic in even before Slovakia entering to European Union, we're seeing these wrong tendencies. And in 2002, so let's say 2 years before entering of European Union, a declaration of sovereignty in cultural ethical issues was adopted in Slovak parliament by majority. And what we were able to have done recently on the constitutional level, this idea of cultural ethical sovereignty in these specific issues was moved to the constitutional level, because this era of very aggressive, progressive liberalism and leftist agendas are biting and eating still more and more competencies, are not in line even with basic European treaties, and are going against them without respect to national identity, which is explicitly mentioned in the treaties backing the European Union.
Great comment. Thank you very much for this fantastic, phenomenal introduction. And we'll get to the amendments in 1 second. And I was going to ask you, what makes Slovakia so absolutely unique in my mind? I mean, you guys have gone up against Goliath, the European Union. And, mind you, Slovakia is not the largest country in Europe. It's not Germany. Slovakia doesn't have the largest economy in Europe, like Germany. But Slovakia, with a population of what? About 6 million people?
5 million. 5 million.
5 million people plus, let's say, has
Yes.
so much determination, has shown so much passion to protect its identity, to protect its culture, to protect its civilization, to protect its values, to protect its church, to protect Catholicism, to protect its spiritual inheritance. It's truly amazing. You might not feel that way, Marek, but for somebody like me who looks to Slovakia from Brussels, where I am right now, I'm saying, good God, what a courageous country. Hungary next door has double the population. Romania almost next door to Slovakia, about 20 million people, 4 times more people in Romania than Slovakia. Romania has not achieved this much in terms of protecting its national identity, sovereignty, and Christian values. What makes you folks so devoted, so determined to stand up and fight?
Thank you, Peter, for these beautiful words. I'm really appreciating that, and I can try to find some answers on your very, very good questions. So when we try to look, if we try to look on this topic from some kind of spiritual perspective, it's always on our minds here in Christian conservative civil society. These prophetical words of Saint John Paul II in 1996, after his visit to Slovakia, when he came back to Rome, he said very interesting few sentences about Slovakia. In these sentences was included that Slovakia has a special role in the future of Europe, and that this role consists of bringing the cultural and religious identity of Slovakia and help to for the real progression of Europe, not the fake progressivism, but to real progress of European continent, and that this can be done through the former martyrs of Slovakia, for instance, during the communist era, because we had a very strong tradition of underground church with a lot of martyrs, with people gathering in their flats or in undergrounds to study Bibles and to make small and very well connected circles, or even getting the Bibles and the spiritual literature from the West, and people were persecuted, were tortured. So this era was very strong, and the communists were going very strongly against the believers, and also against the especially some nurses and so on. So this tradition of these martyrs played also very important role in forming some, we can name it, some resistance against the dangerous ideologies, because we have passed these limitations of freedom of thinking, freedom of speaking, and freedom of gathering, and so on. So we can say Slovaks have some kind of antibodies against this cancel culture and progressive virus. So we have these antibodies since communist era. I was born only on the 1989, so I'm actually a child of Velvet Revolution, because 1 month after I was born, the communism officially ended in Slovakia, and started the new era and the democratic elections and so on. But we can see some very similar trends in softer, but many times more complicated and not so visible, and even more dangerous ways, as we have seen during this communist era. And last but not least, in this prophetical words from Saint John Paul II, was that this role of Slovakia should be done also thanks to the vital forces of young generations to come. So we are trying to follow these words, and to do our homeworks, and to not lose this role, which should be done for our own nation, our own country, but also for the whole Europe, because we are all together in these challenges.
You are correct. A very interesting presentation, which has actually enriched my knowledge. I had no idea. Well, I do think that I remember that John Paul, the Pope, the second visited Slovakia. I didn't remember it. It was in 1996. But it's amazing that people, and young people especially, have sort of clung to those prophetic words of the Pope, going on for what, almost 30 years, 29, 30 years, and to believe that those prophetic words are actually a mission for today, for the young generation in Slovakia. This is truly amazing. And, you can look around Europe and you can see Poland also opposing very much the European Union as far as values are concerned, precisely because of their spiritual inheritance. And to some extent, Romania is in the same category, because the spiritual inheritance of today's generation in Romania is also very rich, based upon many, many centuries of struggling for freedom and protecting Christianity against the Turks and the fascists and the Nazis and the Bolsheviks and so on and so forth. And I certainly hope that what I have seen in Slovakia, this like a spiritual awakening against secularism will also grow and expand also in Romania and Bulgaria and maybe other countries as well. So great
I,
explanation.
I, I wish
Go ahead,
I wish
please.
it very much. I wish it very much for all our European nations and all the Western nations. And I must say that I have a big respect and great friendly relationships with Christians and conservatives from Poland, from Hungary, now also from Romania. That's fantastic. And I think people like us are doing amazing job. Actually against the Hydra, a very strong Hydra, which has much more money, much more people, much more power. But uh, one of our role models from the era of underground church, when he was on the trial on the court against very strong communist prosecutors, he said his name was Sylvester Krčmeli. His very prophetical um, words against this strong communist power was in one sentence like, you have the power, but we have the truth. We don't want your power, but truth for which we stand will always rule in the end. And you can try even to crucify this truth, but this truth will always rise again. So we have this hope. We know to which we believe, and I think we can do big things together, and we can maybe spiritually, but also economically, practically, in all areas, make Europe great again.
I say amen to that. Let's talk now about the amendments that came into effect on November the 1st. Of course, Europe was taken by storm. Tell us briefly, and then we'll get into each amendment and see exactly what they do. But briefly, how many amendments to the Constitution were adopted that went into effect
Sure.
on the 1st of November?
Yes. So you mentioned in the beginning that amendments was also regarding protection of marriage. I will just little. I will put just little correction. Protection of marriage as a special union between one man and one woman was adopted to constitution even more than 10 years ago. So it was also great battle, great fight. And the successful fight. It went through the parliament, despite before was very big public referendum and at first petition and then referendum, which was unfortunately not successful. But then through the parliament, this unique union between one man and one woman called marriage was adopted to the constitutional level in 2014. So we have already 11 years since that, and now back to the recent constitutional amendment. I will start with the article which makes European bureaucrats very crazy, and it goes like this: the Slovak Republic retains its sovereignty about all in matters of national identity, consisting in particular of fundamental cultural and ethical questions involving the protection of life and human dignity, private and family life, marriage, parenthood and the family, public morality, personal status, culture and language, as well as decision making in matters related thereto in the fields of healthcare, science, upbringing, education, personal status, and inheritance. So this concrete article was the biggest bomb to the face of European institutions, which is actually, if we check this treaties of European Union, is completely all right. Slovak parliament didn't go to any wrong area. it's totally democratical. This process lasted like for more than 1 year since its start. There was big public debate. Parties from the coalition and opposition spectrum supported that. When there were public polls from the 65 to 70 of people were in favor of these constitutional amendments. So of course this anti-campaign, the campaign was very strong, but it has public support, it has political support. It was completely democratical process with a lot of upgrades, changing and tuning, and it was, I must admit, in the end, that it was successful. It was miracle, at least of the medium size, because it was adopted with the minimum necessary constitutional majority of 90 votes from 150 members of parliament sitting in the National Council of Slovak Republic. So this 90 was a minimum possible to adopt this. Formerly, it had to be adopted already in June, but there were missing 1 or 2 votes. So in the end, we were able to finish this unexpectedly, actually, because it looked like it will be not successful until the last moments. It's the details of this, how it could be, how it was done in the end. It's like for a book, the details, because so many details that if you would like to plan it, it was not possible to plan it, because so many circumstances, so many actors fighting against it, so many biases and propaganda against these constitutional amendments and pressures. So it was like a really big thing that in the end, and miracle of medium size at least, that we were able to make it.
Okay, so if I correctly understand the well, strike that. Let's go back. How many amendments actually went into effect on the 1st of November? Was it one or was it two or
Okay,
three?
so yes. So we started with the one which is really making the European institutions furious. Okay, so now we go to the second one. For instance, we can pick an agreement to give birth to a child for another shall be prohibited. So this one address the prohibition of so-called surrogation, a very cruel practice, and we can call it the new the new slavery of women, and to abusing the pregnancy as something some business model. So prohibition of surrogacy, practice of surrogacy, is actually a huge success in promotion of true human rights, and also the true respect to human beings and dignity of human beings.
So are you talking about two amendments or more than two?
No. We go for even more. That's fantastic. That these were actually, we can call it 5 or 6 points. So we go to next one. The parents of a child shall be the mother and the father. The mother of the child shall be a woman, and the father of the child shall be a man. So with this article, we protect that there is nothing like. Some child has two fathers or two mothers, how some people would like to tell and promote as a new art for a law, and forcing it to respect in the whole society, so that every child has one mother who is a woman and one father who is a man. Biologically, realistically, this is something real. So we put this realistic things which were normal just few years ago. Now they are revolutionary. So so unfortunately we live this era.
That's why I'm saying that you killed the sexual revolution, because for 20, 30, 40, 50 years now, the aim of the secular state was to destroy the family, to destroy marriage between a man and a woman, to promote surrogacy at the expense of natural procreative functions. That's why I'm saying you have accomplished a tremendous success. And I would like for you to continue. I do not know the whole list, so I would like for you to continue. You said 4 or 5 items. So far you talked
Yes.
about
So
national sovereignty in the national identity. Number two, surrogacy, and we'll talk about it as well. Number three, every child will have a mother and a father in the birth certificate, not man and man, woman and woman. What else?
yes, exactly. And now we go a minor child may be adopted by the spouses or by a spouse who is married to either of the parents of the child or by the surviving spouse of the parent or adoptive parent of the minor child. Exceptionally, a single person may also adopt a minor child if the adoption is in the best interest of the child. The adoption shall be decided by the court. So this article goes that the best interest of a child, if there is not the ideal and optimum situation that child has is living with his own and natural biological mother and father, and we try to address that we look for the second best or the third best solution in a row for this child, so that in the priority, if there is an adoption process, the husband and the wife should be the solution, the prior solution, and not something like this, or two lesbians are going to adopt the child. So we are trying to underline the best in child, and that in exceptional cases, for instance, when there is after some accident, close family alive, or even single parent alive, that it's possible. But we go like from the best solutions. If it's not possible, we go the second best, the third best, the fourth best, but not like in some other Western European countries, that, for instance, some charities who were trying to help in adoption processes to married couples of one man and one woman were forced to bring adoption in the name of not discriminating gays or lesbians, to bring this adoption also to this specific let's say couples which are not like a real marriage of man and woman. So this is
Audience, I have
helping.
no idea whether or not you realize how blessed we are to hear this good news from Slovakia. It's not from the United States, it's not from Germany, it's not from the UK, it's from one of the most spiritual nations of Europe, and that's Slovakia. It's so refreshing to listen to this young man, folks. If you are hungry for righteousness, like the Bible says, if you seek righteousness, if you seek morality, if you seek a place in the world where Christian principles are being upheld. Right now in the heart of Europe, there is a country that does that, and that is Slovakia. So far, our friend has given us 4 constitutional amendments, and we'll go once again over each one of them because I want you to assimilate the wealth of information and also to realize the consequences of this tremendous victory which our Slovak Christians, brothers and sisters, have accomplished. So, Marek, other than these 4 items, what else was adopted in terms of amendments?
Sure. So we see today that one of the biggest pressures in Western world is against the most the most special and the most vulnerable of us, the children, right? So this sexual education and other kinds of propaganda, or even some drag queen shows even in some kindergartens or schools. It's something we really don't like, and we really don't want to bring in the front of our children, right? So next article is addressing especially this, and this article is stating education and schooling of the children in the area of intimate life formation and sexual behavior may be provided only with the consent of the legal representative, it means parents. Education aimed on the protection of health, physical integrity, and the prevention of abuse shall form part of the general education of children in a form appropriate to their age. So this article is addressing this problem of pushing of I would say it very openly abnormal and really absurd so-called sexual education, because it's not actually education, it's a sexual degradation, or we can try to find the even better word, but it's definitely not education. It's confusion. It's sexual confusion often. So instead of teaching these sensitive issues in integral way, how the sexuality should be the integral part of the marriage, open to procreation of children, is today the very opposite of it, right? So this article in our constitution is addressing this problem of nowadays.
Folks, once again, I don't mean to overemphasize or exaggerate, but what you have in front of you today on this podcast, this young man, reminds me so much of Charlie Kirk, that courageous American young man who presented precisely the same ideas, the same values from a Christian point of view to millions and millions of people around the world. And today you are seeing a young face that's speaking with the same degree of passion, knowledge, intelligence, coherence, articulate on these very topics. And if you did not fully understand what he just said in the last 5 minutes, let me repeat and translate it for you. He said that Amendment number 5 in the Slovak Constitution that went into effect on the 1st of November of this year, in a sense, bans sexual education in school. And I'm on the same page with you, Marek. We are not talking about sexual education. It's sexual perversion, and I'm not afraid to say that as well. And it's also sexual indoctrination. It's an ideology. It's not education. Education has its proper role in society. Indoctrination doesn't. Indoctrination belongs to communism, Nazism, fascism, Marxism, so on and so forth. So sexual education does not exist, only sexual indoctrination exists. And folks, those of you from the United States, once again, who hunger for righteousness, in the United States, Marek, and those of you that are listening to us from across the globe, in the United States, people have fought for 20 years, 30 years for these issues that have been accomplished by our Slovak Christian friends in just with one stroke of a pen uh, in the summer, in the fall of this year. Marek, in the United States, at the state level, states have fought, especially conservative states have fought for 20, 30 years to get to the level where Slovakia is today. That's why I'm saying, and I'm re-emphasizing, maybe I can convince you by the time this conversation is over, that Slovakia killed the sexual revolution. Because when you talk about the sexual revolution, you're talking about reversing and replacing normalcy with abnormality in society. And you fix the problem, at least on paper, to a certain extent. National sovereignty in moral values, no surrogacy. Children cannot be adopted by gay couples. Every child is entitled to a mother and a father. It's a basic human right. And sexual education. My friend, what else did our Slovak friends accomplish on the 1st of November? Any other amendments?
Thank you very much again, Peter, for your kind words, and thank you also that you mentioned Charlie Kirk, because all of us in our circles, we were very touched by what happened in the United States. We were also gathering in Slovakia to commemorate. We had in Slovakia, in Bratislava, in the main cathedral, and also in Prague, in the cathedral by at the time still alive Cardinal Duka was having a beautiful mass in Bratislava. Also in the main St. Martin's Cathedral was mass for the martyred Charlie Kirk. So we respect and we appreciate very much his legacy, and he was really somebody and great person, great fighter for the truth and the good and beauty in the public space. So thank you. You mentioned him, and we continue, and you use this very strong statement that Slovakia killed sexual revolution. We started. I told you like, well, I'm a bit more careful about this statement because with this constitutional amendment we put, and it was actually, this amendment was called barrier against progressivism. It was also named by our prime minister as this, who is what is interesting, that God can play even with some confused people his game, and to fulfill what he's expecting from the people, that even uh, somebody who is a former communist and today socialist can be in favor of these constitutional amendments, and together socialists, Christian Democrats, conservative MPs, supporting with the majority of Slovaks, supported by vital Christian conservative NGOs and ecosystem we are trying to build. This is possible. This is possible, and it's something. And of course, there were also votes against, very strong, even from the Christian or so-called conservative people who were saying like, no, 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 these constitutional amendments looks good, but you cannot vote for them because Prime Minister Robert Fico, who is former communist, and we don't like him. He is wrong person. He has these scandals and corruption and whatever. You should not vote with him. So these voices were, and they are always in this kind of struggle. We should very carefully consider, and these issues and these constitutional amendments was so important, and it goes over political terms. It goes over the one parliament. It will have a positive impact to Slovakia for decades. It will have a positive impact for Europe for decades. It will be, and it is already, when I'm listening to you, it's encouraging the Christians and conservatives around the Europe or even around the Western world, people from South America, North America, Europe or Asia are curious how it is possible to bring again this natural law, common sense, Christian values back to our constitutional and national order, and hopefully in the future also to European laws. So we can continue. Are you
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, we are going to continue.
okay?
You are talking about the prime
So
minister. Go ahead, please.
yeah. So we have.
You're talking about the
Uh,
prime. Go
Please,
ahead,
please
please.
don't forget your question, and I will continue with another article, which goes like this: the Slovak Republic recognizes only the biologically determined sexes of male and the female. So we see today this strange approach and these lies that, well, you are born in your body, but you can decide uh, during your life when you will start to feel as a human of opposite sex, that you will change your sex in your IDs, in your passport, in your state documents. And we think this is a huge lie. This is a huge lie which is actually destroying lives. and we must say it openly, because if we will say what we really think today, many people tomorrow will not even think this, and this is very important. And now this what is really, every child sees this reality. We need it, unfortunately, today in the European Union. We as a people, we needed to put it to the constitution. It's strange. It's sign of the strange times we live in, right?
Absolutely, and not only strange but weird, very weird. Folks,
Very queer,
uh,
very queer, right?
yeah, and weird. That's bizarre, very very bizarre. Uh, I do not know. Again, folks, he talks just like Charlie Kirk. I told you. Uh, Speaking of the sexual confusion that's prevailing nowadays in the minds of a lot of young people in Europe and also in the United States, I do not know whether or not you remember this, or maybe even whether or not you know this, or people around the world. Approximately, it was during the Biden administration, maybe 3, 4 years ago, there was a vacancy on the Supreme Court of the United States. And so Mr. Biden appointed a black female to serve on the Supreme Court of the United States. And of course, in the United States, in the Constitution, it says that members of the Supreme Court and of the judiciary are nominated by the president, and they serve with the consent of the Senate. In other words, the Senate approves the nomination. And before the approval and the vote is taken, obviously the candidate to the high function on the Supreme Court appears before a panel in the Senate and is being quizzed, is being questioned on various legal issues. And so this lady, black lady, she was asked the following question by one of the Republican senators. I forgot, I don't recall her name. Catania, I think is her last name or first name. They asked her to define what a woman is. She didn't answer. She waffled. She looked left and she looked right. She was ashamed to define the word woman in front of the United States Senate.
Yes, I
Confusion in
remember.
the mind. You remember that? And
Yeah,
then
yeah,
you probably also remember the great news that came out of the UK about half a year ago, maybe almost the beginning
yes.
of the year, the spring or so. The Supreme Court of the UK defined sex in British law as being biological sex. It's not some crazy notions and ideas that go through your head. It's biological sex. A male means a biological male, and a woman means a biological female. So,
This
go
really
ahead.
really strange trans ideology is, it's even too much for many gay activists. So, for instance, we all of us know the story of how the author of Harry Potter started to be hated because she standed against this trans ideology. What is it doing in women's sports, for the security of real women, and so on. And for instance, in Slovakia, we have a very courageous woman who was formerly, let's say, part of rainbow so-called LGBT movement. I don't like this abbreviations LGBT, because I think it's crazy to reduce any kind of people to some LGBT pronouns. It sounds like R2D2 robot from Star Wars or something, right? We are people. We are not abbreviations. So it's a dehonestation of people, actually. This courageous woman, which was formerly part of this rainbow movement, started to realize, this trans ideology, it's really too much. If I don't want to support this man who is saying that he feels like a woman and he dressed like a woman, and now he wants from every people around respecting him as a woman. And when she politely said no, I don't think you are a woman. I'm a woman. I know what does it mean to be woman. Uh, you cannot know what does it mean because you are not a woman. You don't have a body of woman, right? And and she started to get really like death threats and really crazy attacks. And now she's a great writer and journalist in Conservative Daily, and doing a really great job in bringing these strange ideologies or to the public, and the strange not only ideologies but the strange results of this ideology, because despite we have in Slovakia this constitutional amendment, imagine the world is so complicated today, so we created this constitutional barrier, but the fight, the battles, it's continuing. These people with this anthropological revolution mindset are always trying some new solutions, to ways how to infiltrate to the lower standards and documents, to have some positions on ministries, to have some well-paid NGOs, European Union, Soros funds, or international supporters. So we are fighting with international, very well supported Hydra in many aspects, and this will continue. But it's always good to also celebrate some important success, how these constitutional amendments, and bring it also as encouragement and inspiration that even today it is still possible to bring these natural law principles, divine law, and common sense principles back to the legislation.
Folks, you have heard Marek say very well that the purpose and the objective is to educate people. Marek and I are, in a sense, privileged because not only because we have access to information, because everybody does under the sun has access to information, but we have an interest in dealing with significant issues that affect daily lives, values, Christian values in particular, and other issues as well. And so our purpose every Friday night or Saturday night is to come in front of you and educate you on the important issues. Maybe you don't have the time to spend to actually scroll through the news and click open and read various articles. And maybe even if you read the various articles, maybe you do not understand them. You are not able to put them in a context. And so that's one of the reasons why I'm so honored to have people like Marek come here every Friday night or Saturday night and explain these issues to you. Our purpose, again, is not entertainment. We are not entertaining you. We are not comedians. We are serious people that bring before you important, serious topics. They might not impact you since you're an adult, maybe, but they are impacting your children. They are impacting the way they think. They are impacting your church. They are impacting the body of Christ. They are impacting Christianity if you're not careful. And so, once again, I encourage you folks to subscribe to our YouTube channel, and also to share and distribute tonight's message. I want to read a comment made by the Prime Minister of Slovakia. You mentioned earlier tonight that there were some issues with various parliamentarians that wanted to stay out of this fight because they were concerned that the Prime Minister would vote or veto or whatever the issue might have been. And I have found actually in the European press a comment from Prime Minister Fico when the European Commission threatened to launch infringement procedures against Slovakia, and we'll get to that topic in 1 second. I liked what he said, and I want you guys to listen carefully to what the Prime Minister of Slovakia. We are not in a political campaign to say campaigning here on behalf of the Prime Minister, but this is what this man said to Europe and the world when the news broke that the European Union is going to launch reprisals or infringement proceedings against uh, Slovakia over these constitutional amendments. This is what he said, quote, "We are looking forward to this conflict between Slovakia and the European Union." And he continues, "I can't imagine any international organization telling us how many genders there should be or who can and cannot get married. This is purely a domestic matter and a very strong topic of national identity. Regardless of where you
Exactly.
are in the political spectrum, this time you've got to agree with the Prime Minister." So, kudos to him and to the people of Slovakia. I think I know the answer to the next question, but I would like for you to explain again for the benefit of our audience. I have an inkling that. Go ahead, please.
Can I just add one important point? Because I
Yes.
think this is touching every European member state, and we must realize it and act. Keep in mind and act in line with this. So on the European treaties, there is exactly said like in which areas European Union has competencies, in which member state has have competencies. Despite this fact, European Union and European institutions, or even from the Council of Europe, the European Court of Human Rights, for instance, is step by step trying to consider and rule and force the agendas and the legislation which should be actually voted in the parliaments of member states. And this is a huge problem because the fair play in every game, in every sport match, in every political conflict or political argument should be played within the framework where it should be, right? So, for instance, if Slovakia will have civil unions or so-called same-sex marriages, it should be decided in the National Council of Slovak Republic. If Romania will have the marriage consisting only as a special union between one man and one woman, and it will remain like this, it should be decided only in Romania, in your parliament, right? But here we have people in national parliaments, in European institutions, in European Parliament, who don't respect this, that actually their own rules. So they every day are trying to convince us like there is uh, something so important that they invented, for instance, some new human rights, and now everybody, despite this fair play of this game, of this match, the rules, despite these rules, that they can uh, ignore these rules, and they can bring it as dogmas which everybody must respect, adopt, and just formally accept, for instance, through their parliaments. Or they don't even need parliaments. They can rule it through progressive judges on the national or international courts. They don't care about democracy. We always hear from the European institutions and also from the progressive national parties. We have it in Slovakia on daily basis. They want to save democracy, but in reality they are the biggest killers of democracy because they see only a liberal progressive version of democracy, and they don't understand what is like parliamentary form of democracy, what is pluralistic democracy. They don't respect any other opinion, only liberal progressive opinion. So this is the end of democracy in their mind, and they are trying to bring it from their minds to the European Parliament and to the member states. So we must be very strong and very firmly grounded to stop these efforts, because this is actually end of real democracy and start of some liberal progressive tyranny.
Totally agree with you. I'm a lawyer and I have practiced law in the United States for 35 years, and I totally agree with you from the legal aspect of this discussion. You're right. The European Treaty, or so-called Lisbon Treaty, is very clear. Just like in the United States, you've got the federal competencies, the federal powers, and then you've got the state powers. For those of you who watch from the United States and understand more the American system and probably less the European system. But in the European system, pursuant to the Union, the Treaty of the European Union and the Lisbon Treaty, the European Union is assigned certain competencies or powers, and the states of the European Union, such as Slovakia or Romania, retain a certain number of powers. And what our guest is saying tonight is that what Slovakia has actually enshrined in its constitutions effective November the 1st of this year is those competencies which the Treaty of Lisbon has arrogated, has given to Slovakia, to Romania, to Poland, to Hungary, to the Czech Republic, and so on and so forth. That's exactly the areas in which the Slovak nation has actually exercised jurisdiction and legislated on November the 1st of 2025. Am I right about that?
So we see that they are cheating these rules of the game, this fair play.
Right.
They are cheating of all the time, 24/7, just trying to find or create some new cheat, how to break the rules. They are even arrogant to teach us what is democracy, but they don't understand what is democracy.
I agree. I fully agree with you, Marek. I have lived under communism. I know what the absence of democracy is, and I think that I have lived in the United States in a true democracy, which really can give lessons to a whole bunch of progressive European nations, states, I should say, not nations, about what a democracy should look like. It's a huge topic, and actually, it was discussed in the conference 4 weeks ago in Bratislava. I do want to ask you, as you were talking about these tremendous amendments, I was thinking, who actually wrote these amendments? Because they are, I would say, bulletproof. You cannot attack them on legal grounds because, just like you said, Marek, you always fall back on the Treaty of Lisbon. And everything that Slovakia has legislated on November the 1st is agreeable in agreement and matches the Treaty of Lisbon. So, did you have one lawyer? Can you mention somebody? Did you have a lawyer, two lawyers, three lawyers? What can you tell us? I'm just curious as a lawyer. Bright
Yes.
legal mind.
Sure. My friend, it's very complex, and it was a complex process. When we come back to the July 2024,
Yes.
it was the time soon after the recovery of Prime Minister Robert, because maybe you have heard that there was an attempt to assassinate him. So this was
Yes.
his first public appearance on the it's state of Saint Cyril and Methodius on the castle of Devin, where River Danube and the River Morava, which goes to Czech Republic, meet. And this is very important historical castle and the meeting point of various civilizations and beautiful history. And on this Devin castle, in his first public appearance after this assassination attempt from the murderer was close to or sharing some, at least sharing some narrative with progressive opposition, which was trying to convince people that when Robert Fico is not having the mainstream approach towards the war on Ukraine, in Ukraine, or with some other issues, that he's a huge danger for democracy, and his government will end democracy in Slovakia, and we will be not in Europe anymore. And this kind of very unrealistic narratives. So I think it was actually the psychological change of Robert Fico that somewhere deep in his convictions he realized, like, okay, this went too far. We must bring some national wall against these strange ideologies which are destroying public debate, not caring if you are leftist or rightist. There is almost not possible any serious debate because this wokish progressive narratives are not definitely open to serious and full dialogue with ideological opponents, right? So he came to this Devin Castle a few weeks after recovery from this serious assassination attempt, and he delivered this powerful message. It was, of course, controversial because his history is also controversial because during his political career he was changed views quite often. Only some years ago he was in favor of Slovakia being in the core of European, let's say, core of next European Union, bringing closer together and being in the core of Europe. So I can understand that some people were really unsure if they can believe, but this was only some political declaration that he wanted to, with his government, to promote and adopt this constitutional wall against progressivism. But it was not sure what will be the text on. And after this feast of Saint Cyril and Methodius, which are actually also patrons and protectors of Europe, right? And who plays a very important role in history of many European nations, and especially Slavic nations. Became the very old Slovak Christian Democratic Movement. It's head Milan Majersky and also the law specialist William Karas, and they bring the constitutional priorities as an opposition party, which they would like to bring to constitution. It was like first concrete public points for the discussion. In this point started this discussion, like how these future constitutional amendments will look in the reality. So it was summer 2024. Then we jump the time, and some internal talks between political actors, lawyers, civil society, and we come to January 2025, where the office of the office of the government put on its website and also on the press conferences that these are the first first texts
Step.
of possible future amendments. Please, citizens, send your opinions, open discussion, speak about it between political parties in parliament, coalition, opposition, citizens. Everybody could send their opinions. And I must admit that when we as Christians and conservatives read the first time these amendments texted by Prime Minister Robert Fico and his people, my first thought was, okay, this is not wall against progressivism. This is a mental against progressivism. Like so many holes that even some concrete aspects were worsening the situation from the status quo. So very intense political discussions started, and many conservative think tanks and civil society organizations supported by people and signatures, mails, and also the political partners. Christian Democratic Movement as a political party made a great job in bringing even the topics like surrogation or the section. So I must admit that if somebody 1 year ago will tell me like this government consisting from two socialist parties and one Slovak National Party will vote in favor, and their members of parliament will vote in favor of uh, forbidden of surrogation and these kind of topics, I would say like I consider this as not realistic, because the public narrative for the voters of today coalition in Slovakia, the coalition of Robert Fico, was okay. Progressives are crazy. We need to put sexist to constitution. So their public communication was two sexist, male and female, to constitution. They didn't care so much in public debate about surrogation or adoption or education. All these points were brought to these constitutional topics through the members of parliament and politicians from the Christian Democratic Movement. So this is really important to underline the very similar way than 11 years ago when this constitutional amendment regarding
Marriage.
moving moving up the constitutional protection of marriage between one man and woman, and they must do everything good for the support of this special union of one woman. It was made in very very similar modus, where the
Often.
party of governing party of Robert Fico, the Socialist Party, Smer Social Democracy, together with Christian Democrats and some other conservatives in parliament from various parties or individuals, were able to move it to the constitutional protection. So this is also example how these important cultural, ethical, and national issues must go usually over the political spectrum and try to find this consensus over the spectrum. Is also bringing the protection for the future, because if the constitutional amendment will be adopted only by the government or only by the opposition, which is unrealistic, of course. If it will be only by the government, there is a higher chance that that next government can change it. But now we see that there was a consensus between the coalition and opposition parties, and it is actually very important, and is bringing also the stability to the constitutional level, and it makes it even harder to change it. And also this support from the public polls, from the citizens, where let's say 2/3 or even more, or 3/4 were in favor, from 60 to 75% on various articles were in favor of these constitutional amendments.
That's a great lesson for the whole world, especially the Western world. It would be inconceivable, Marek, to see Democrats and Republicans in the United States share some common ground, especially on these very important Christian values. But lo and behold, folks, in Slovakia, the Christian community has come together with one voice and has stood in the gap for the future, the present, and the future of this nation. And I believe that my words, I'm not a prophet, I'm not the Pope, but I think that, Marek, I think that because your nation has taken this stand at this point in history, I think that Slovakia is going to withstand these huge mutations, political migration, whatever, civilizational changes that are churning the whole continent of Europe. I think that the Slovak nation is going to survive, and I tilt my hat to the people of the of Slovakia. A related topic, I think that we cover some of this subject, but not specific. Go ahead, please.
Thank you very much. Just one short point. Lesson learned from this cooperation among the coalition and opposition parties on so important civilizational issues, protecting the human dignity and dignity of the family, children, and this most basic truths about the human, the woman, man, family, that we uh, must ensure that the world of today and this especially these progressive liberal parties and media and progressive institutions, that we will not allow them, that they will bring the narrative to our heads, that we are forbidden to vote for the or the for the good things with people they say we cannot vote with, right? So we must always consider on our own, and politics is actually the core of the politics is to look for the allies in particular issues where you agree on, right? You look always to with this party you can adopt some economical law. With this party, you can adopt some environmental law. With this party, you can adopt some social law. And that's the normal politics. But today, the narrative is like we, as liberal progressive authorities, we will tell you with who you can vote for the things you would like to have in your constitution or in your laws. And this is crazy. We must strongly oppose this approach, this we can call it cancel culture approach or dividing approach, and this is happening not only inside the states, but imagine or look at the European level. For instance, there is always these voices from Brussels. If you vote with Hungary for something, you are a bad member state. If you vote with Poland for something, you are a bad member state. So they are telling us with who we can make friendships and political alliances and with who not, on the national levels, on and also on the European level or even on the international level. And this must be seen, and we must understand this, that it's going totally against our interest and against the values we want to promote and principles we want to promote in politics. And we must always decide on our own if these things, these agendas, are in favor of our values and principles. And if yes, we can vote for them with socialists, with nationalists, with Christian Democrats, and it's definitely okay. We must always consider on our own and not follow some special guidelines from actually our political opponents.
Yeah, it's very important to be on the same sheet of music, so to speak. And yeah, there is a great deal of insanity in Europe which must end. Europe needs to learn to respect national sovereignty and the culture and civilization of every member state. I want to ask you about the role of the church in this process. Did the church take a stand, a public stand? Did the church issue declarations, statements, official statements, call to prayer, call to a national awakening, vigil? What can you tell us about the role of the church?
Yes, thank you. It's an important question. And yes, there was official support from the bishops. They issued they are supporting these constitutional amendments. Um, I'm Catholic. I'm believer, so I am happy that this voice of bishops and this voice of shepherds was heard. um, and I will not comment more if I I would like to it be heard even more or less. I'm happy that it was heard. But in general, if you even win some battle, you are true to yourself. You can always look back and see on our own side or on the of other stakeholders what could be done in even better way from the side of politicians, from the side of NGOs, in better networking of political actors. So it always can be better for sure. But thanks God, uh, politicians, uh, church leaders, conservative civil society was working together, communicating together, and in the end, with the help from above, it was blessed and it was successful.
Great. And those of you who are watching and are spiritually inclined, listen up. It's very important that in these battles, the voice of God must be heard. I've got a saying which I have sort of borrowed from somebody else. When we speak scriptures, God speaks through us because God speaks through scriptures. And when we in the public square declare the truth of the gospel, of the scriptures, we speak in the name of God and God is behind. I have the inkling, and I have actually not the inkling, I have the conviction, Marek, that God was behind this project in Slovakia and gave you this tremendous success. Let's move on to the last item for our discussion for tonight. One that really worries me, and you folks need to listen very carefully, because the European Union intends to launch a punishing campaign against Slovakia because Slovakia has adopted one or two of these amendments, constitutional amendments, with which the European Union is not in agreement, and Marek is going to explain that to us. Let me preface that by saying that let me find my notes here, on the 21st of November, so that's about 2 weeks ago, on the 21st of November, which was exactly 3 weeks after these amendments took effect in Slovakia, the European Commission issued an infringement, a possible infringement notice to Slovakia. And let me explain to you what that means. In the United States, we have this notion of impeachment. Congress or the Senate or the executive branch can take action against somebody, against a person, against an institution. It's called impeachment procedures, like impeachment procedures against President Trump and there have been some others. So in this case, I want you to listen very well. The European Union, through its executive branch, which is the European Commission, has sent notification to Slovakia telling Slovakia that the European Commission, the executive branch of the European Union, intends to launch infringement or impeachment proceedings against Slovakia because Slovakia has adopted some of these constitutional amendments. Pause for a second. Think how ridiculous this is. how anti-democratic this is, how anti-national sovereignty this is, how foolish actually this is. And I will stop right here because I don't want to get too emotional about these issues. But this is crazy, this is insane. And the European Commission has given Slovakia 60 days to respond to this intent to launch infringement, punishment actions against Slovakia. So, Marek, take it from there. What's your take on this crazy notion, crazy idea, crazy move on the part of the European Commission? Who,
Sure.
by the way, nobody elected. Nobody voted
Yeah.
for them. Nobody put them in power, right?
Sure. It's absurd on the first place, but it can be actually very valuable if this conflict, dispute, this infringement will bring to the public all these mm, wrong efforts and abusing of power of European structures against member state and actually going against the principle of sovereignty in the specific fields which um, member states member states to say uh, which are under the which will be under the control of member
Right.
states and
National competencies.
also yes.
Okay, we lost you, Marek. We cannot hear you.
Oh, I had a little communication problem, technical.
Okay.
So are we back?
Yes, we are back, listening with a great deal of
Perfect.
interest. Continue, please.
Perfect. So, uh, yes, it can be actually valuable because also other member states will see uh, like what happen if member state will decide to go its own way in the fields where it should be normal, absolutely allowed, and absolutely in line with all official European treaties and documents. So that actually this is something like if you think in line with all the procedures in the end of this like somebody is bullying you, right? Somebody is bullying you and doing things against you or even abusing, for instance, the European funding and using it as a weapon against the member state. So if this will be seen and all and other member states will see this absurdity, there is a hope that we will be able to form the alliance of states which really don't like this approach, and we have seen, for instance, in the where some states were ignoring these quotas for migrants, and if there was enough of states, and despite the fact that officially there should be fines against these states, it was so big opposition against these fines that this European institute, despite the ruling, were starting to ask these penalties, these fines from the member states. So actually, this dispute, this conflict, can be very fruitful, and I hope our politicians and our responsible actors will do their job the best they can, and at the same time, we see also that there is a new government in Czech Republic. There will be hopefully support from hopefully from Romania. I'm not very well oriented in your government, their
You have
approach.
my support. You have my support, and you've got God's support.
Yeah. Thank you very much. So this can be fruitful, but what I can, for instance, our great friends from Ordo Juris from Poland made a great analysis, and they have very clear conclusions. I can just briefly quote them. So they say the constitutional amendments adopted by the Slovak Parliament on September 26 on 2025 fall within the state's margin of appreciation and do not violate any of its binding international obligations. The cornerstone of these amendments is anchored directly in Article 4, the Treaty of the European Union itself, which requires the European Union to respect the national identity of the member states as expressed primarily in their constitutions. Also, the objections raised by the Venice Commission, the European Commission, and the Fundamental Rights Agency are entirely unfounded and lack any basis in international.
Okay, you're breaking out. We cannot hear you anymore.
Do we hear?
Yes, we are back on. Go ahead,
Okay.
please continue.
So I just repeat the last sentence. The objection raised by the Venice Commission, the European Commission, and the Fundamental Rights Agency are entirely unfounded and lack any basis in international and European law. Instead, they rather reflect those bodies' political views. No rule of international law obliges Slovakia to force children to participate in sex education against their parents' wishes, to grant adoption rights to same-sex couples, or to recognize more than two sexes. Was it
Excellent.
heard?
Yep,
And I will, if you
we
if
heard
you if you
everything.
like, I can add just two more articles if you are interested in this analysis conclusion.
Okay, yeah, and we are actually, folks, we are actually approaching the end, so hang in there another 5, 10 minutes at the most. Go ahead, please.
Okay, so we continue. The principle of constitutional supremacy reflect a legal tradition spanning many centuries and predating the European Union. When acceding to the European Union, the member states did not agree to subordinate their constitutions to EU law, as evidenced by the wording of most national constitutions, including Slovakia's, which affirm their special legal status, as well as by the extensive case law of European constitutional courts. Although the interpretations advanced by the Court of
Okay, breaking out again. We cannot hear you, Marek.
Okay, it's better.
Now it is.
Okay. Although the interpretation advanced by the Court of Justice of the European Union takes the opposite view, it finds no support in the EU treaties. It's clearly acting ultra vires, while reserving itself the powers to assert the primacy of EU law against the central values of the member states' constitutions.
Amazing
And the
statements.
primacy
Go ahead.
and the primacy of EU law is not conditional and may not serve to resolve the conflicts between the EU law and the Slovakian constitutional law. The vast majority of the member states' top courts pronounce themselves with regard to the primacy of their fundamental laws over EU law. For instance, Germany, Ireland, Poland, Estonia, Latvia, Spain, Belgium, Finland, Cyprus, Bulgaria, the jurisprudence being as varied as the adjudicating court's native legal system, is surprisingly consistent in denying the unconditional precedence to EU law. And
Outstanding
the last
comment. Go
and the
go
last
ahead.
one, the member states' practice clearly indicates that they do not accept the primary of the EU law as the principle governing the interactions between the EU law and their constitutional laws. Even if the amendments to the Slovakian constitution were to violate certain substantive provisions of EU law and not to be covered by the national identity exception, this would not render them illegal. So I think this is excellent.
An excellent analysis. Maybe most of the people that have listened to the last two paragraphs, maybe they do not understand exactly what's going on. And first of all, I want to explain to you folks what Ordo Juris is. It is a Polish, I guess, non-profit organization, very influential, very educated, and very schooled in the notions and in the ideas that Marek and I, the topics that Marek and I have discussed tonight. We are very grateful for those comments. I still have one question for you, Marek, and then we are going to get to be done. But before I do that, I want to read one sentence, since you read from an Ordo Juris report. I want to read one sentence from a very wise person. I talked earlier tonight about the black lady that's on the Supreme Court of the United States, who said she does not know how to define what a woman is in front of the Parliament of the United States, in front of the Senate. But also, fortunately, on
There
the
is
Supreme
also
Court. Go ahead.
there is also this famous What is a Woman, famous documentary, right?
Right. But I want to also tell you the good news that also on the Supreme Court of the United States right now, there is another woman, a Christian woman, a practicing woman by the name of Amy Barrett. And she published a book earlier this year, maybe 2 or 3 months ago, and I commented about this on my Facebook page. The title of the book is the following: Listening to the Law. Listening to the Law. And this is one excerpt that the media has taken out of it. And I think it's a sentence that you, Marek, and the people of Slovakia will agree with, just like I full-heartedly agree with it. And the whole of Europe should listen very closely. Brussels, listen up. Brussels, listen up. Strasbourg, listen up. European Court of Human Rights, listen up. European Court of Justice, listen up, because you will have some wisdom to take from this sentence. This is what she says in her book. The court's role, meaning the role of the Supreme Court of the United States, is to respect the choices that the people have agreed upon, not to tell the people what they should be agreeing to. Let me read that again. The role of the court of the United States, of the Supreme Court, is to respect the decisions that the people have agreed upon, like in Slovakia, not to tell the Slovak people what they should be agreeing on. You got that, Marek? This
Exactly.
is
And this is
this is the essence of what it means to respect citizens, to respect the democratic process, to respect constitutional amendments such as those adopted by Slovakia. Go ahead, please.
exactly, Peter. And this is a phenomenon Connie Amy Barrett describes very well, which is called judicial activism, for instance. And
Right.
we see like judges who think they can create something totally different and find some new so-called human rights. For instance, like judges in the past on Supreme Court in the United States, that they, from the article from the Constitution regarding the privacy, they created so-called right to abortion, and
Abortion, right.
it took decades to cancel
Change that.
to change this ruling, to overthrow um, this absurd ruling made at the time by progressive judges on the Supreme Court, who actually create uh, something totally different than constitutional fathers once upon a time put to the constitution, right? And this is happening all around the world. These special talents of judicial activism are also in Europe, and yes, we need more of the organization, like in United, for instance, is doing extremely good job. Uh, this fellow, you can help me as a lawyer. I forgot now this name of the organization who is preparing future judges and future lawyers, and helping Federalist Society is the
Yeah,
name
the
of the
Federalist Society,
organization.
right?
So we need also in Europe more organizations like Ordo Juris, Alliance Defending Freedom, Federalist Society, because this is battle on so many levels, and we need this is battle, and in battle you need all types of the army. In every good fight, you need all the types of the soldiers, all the types of the research, all the types of ecosystem, so everybody can play good role in protecting the true freedom and dignity for nations, for our Europe.
Marek, it was really a pleasure to speak with you tonight, to have you as a guest on our podcast. Now, I'd like for you to take a minute, maybe no more than 2 minutes, and give a message from the heart, from you, from the people of Slovakia, from the Christians of Slovakia. Give a message to the people of Romania. What would you tell them?
Dear folks, dear friends, dear brothers and sisters in Christ in Romania, uh, please always hope that things can change for the better. But it will not change without your effort. We have this great Latin phrase, our predecessors from our ancestors, ora et labora, pray and work hard. So we need to ora et labora every day of our life, dedicated, things get changed for the better. And this constitutional amendment adopted against the spirit of goes totally against the spirit of a time, and that's why European Union is so furious. That's why Slovak liberals and progressives are so desperate and so furious about these amendments. They are even writing, imagine, like Slovak progressives and liberals are writing letters backed by liberal progressive organizations to the Brussels, that because of this, Brussels should cut the money to Slovak. So these things are happening, and they will always happen when you fight a good fight. So we need to fight good fights, and be always uh, right and just, even to our opponents. Don't cheat, because you always need you win, and how you are ready to lose, because it's important to be ready to win, and how you want to win, that you need to use the proper ways to win, and how are you ready to lose the fights, because some fights will be lost, and you need to prepare over also to lose some fights, but then next battle can be won always. So please, uh, ora et labora, pray and work every day. You have wonderful nation, wonderful country, and you have a lot of good structures on which you can build every day, and make things better for your country, for your nation, and also for the Europe. And we need, as European states, we need to work together. And I consider the European, especially the Central, Southern, and Eastern European states cooperation. I see it very crucial, because our states survived communism, and our states will for sure survive. If there will not be European Union, our cooperation among the Central, Eastern, and Southern Europe states continue in any case and should be strengthened as a priority in foreign policy. This should become the priority, especially in Central, Southern, Eastern Europe. Cooperation of uh, from the side of national identity compatible states which still appreciate our Christian heritage, the natural law in our legislation, cooperation of our states can bring also the spiritual and cultural renewal to the whole Europe. This is message of hope.
Thank you very much. We are ending here, folks. This very fascinating podcast. I also want to express my gratitude to you, Marek, for having accepted my invitation. I also want, in closing, to express once again my profound affection, Christian affection towards the Slovak people for what they have done. I congratulate them for what they have accomplished. And unlike Marek, I do say that Slovakia killed the sexual revolution, and now we are jumping into the second chapter of this saga, of this book, where the EU is pursuing revenge. And I think that Slovakia is going to win the rematch. God bless you. Thank you again. And we say goodbye and good night.
Thank you, and please, dear friends, have a blessed and wonderful Advent and coming Christmas time. It's a wonderful time of the year, so enjoy it with your closest and bring hope to your neighborhoods.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you, Peter. Bye bye. All the best.